We will get started in a minute. Waiting for the fellas to hop in here. So just give me a couple of minutes. Bear with me. All right, hold on a second. Where are we at? Yeah, I guess I'll get my glasses cleaned up. Um, if you come into the chat, say hello and let me know if the audio is okay. I'm trying my headphones tonight. Um, Hopefully that will isolate some of the background noises and things. So uh, I'll click on my camera shortly. I'm just waiting for the guys to come in here, and I'm still getting a couple of things set up, getting my coffee and stuff together, and making sure I have all my notes ready for you all. So I am completely prepared to talk about these topics. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for a little bit longer. Wait for me to start to see some more faces in the stream, and wait for my co-host. Figure I'll give them a couple minutes, and then I'll start the intro on some of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. Actually, hold on one second. Let me double check to see um, where the gentlemen are. Oh, well, there we go. All right, there we
Nah.
go. We got my man Chris in the building. How we doing?
What's going on, Marcus?
Get in the
What's up,
right
man?
spot. I'm doing good, man. Been doing a lot of research and stuff, and a couple of topics that I was like, you know what? I've seen this in the timeline long enough. People saying certain things, and I felt like
Marcus, hold on
because
one
I've done a lot.
one second.
Yeah,
1 second. I'll be right back.
sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll finish the statement, which I was about to tell Chris. I've seen some things in the timeline lately, and on our platform, I like to pride us in being open in our research, and that we'll share all our sources on what we research and what we bring up and what we talk about. And so when I hear people make flippant comments, I will entertain a certain amount of them. But after I keep hearing people kind of demonize something, which I literally spend hours researching into, and having documents and facts and transactions and records to back up what I'm saying, it becomes an issue. So I'm going to address that in my little rant later on. Um, I guess I'll go ahead and do the intro. Emmanuel should be catching up with us sooner or later, so I guess I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
All right. This is, oh, sorry, I'm about to call out the wrong show. This is the Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Cy Lawson,
What's
as
going on, man?
usual. Um, Tonight we have the topic, as you see, what I think I put 3 days till election or whatever it is. We only have a short amount of time, a couple of days down to actual election day. Now, granted, there have been millions of votes which have already been cast. You have all the back and forth from each side, which we're going to delve deeper into that as we get into the show. But we have all of those different issues, plenty of votes, and we're going to talk about some of the things which we think are possibilities. What do we think is going to happen when it actually hits election day, and where it's going to go from there. And then also, once we've talked about that part, then we're going to get into what do we think is going to be the ramification from those things and those actions. And then I'll finish it up with my rant if we don't get too if we don't go too long in time. But yeah, that's going to be what we're going to talk about tonight. So Uh, I was gonna ask you something else. I can't remember. I can't remember, Chris. Getting a little too much going on in the head at the moment, especially distracted with my little rant in the back of my mind. But um, I'll let you take the stage. I mean, what do you have to say, sir? What are you thinking?
No, I'm looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to hearing what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I figured, I've already set it up for us to talk about, our particular topic. So I'm gonna try to keep my powder dry, you know. But it's it's been I've noticed over and over and over, and those who watch our channel, they know that we try our best to try to get as much information and try to be as accurate as we can before we uh, voice our point of views on certain things, because especially some of the stuff is controversial and it's not a
Mhm.
comfortable position to hold. So we're very diligent in trying to find every bit of information before we come out with the things that we say often. And I've noticed a lot on the left, there's just almost like a scoffer spirit. And for those who don't know what a scoffer is just a person who they just kind of spit or trash anything that you have to say and don't actually take the time to think about it, investigate it, or do their own research. They just sit from a arrogant position and then throw out comments and point of views without backing up or even disputing what you're saying. They just kind of deny it or dismiss it, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to address a high platform channel who has been talking about a lot of the things dealing with Illuminati and things like that. And one comment in particular that came up having to do with some of the election stuff in Joe Biden. So I'm going to get into that later. And we have my good friend and other co-host in here. Emmanuel is in the building. How are we doing, Emmanuel?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm ready to get into this topic now. I'm talking about the election. I know we're only a couple of days out. There's been tons of votes. I've already heard stuff about like voter fraud here. I believe Chris, I think you sent me a video earlier about Trump supporters trying to go through voter intimidation in the black neighborhoods, and they were not having any of it. So, I mean, I just see like there's a whole bunch of little fires that I feel like are starting, and I'm just waiting for the election to flush out to see if gasoline is going to be thrown on these fires. So I mean, I guess I'll turn it over to Emmanuel since he's just hopped in. What do you think about that point of view?
It is it is getting a little weird. One of the things that Chris sent me about the various theories that might be popping up, uh, definitely got a 2000 feel from it. Like we're gonna we're gonna see some contention. So that's definitely a theory that I have going into that. Did we lose him?
No, he's probably just
No,
taking care of something
no,
offline behind the scenes.
no. I'm still here. I was just grabbing something real quick, and I took a sip of my coffee and realized it is extremely bitter. So I needed to just put a couple of drops in it so I can stand it, and you guys won't see me keep making sour faces all night. But you can get back to what you were saying.
But yeah, that's I definitely need to look more into the election that happened in 2000. I know a couple of broad strokes, but I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to it when it happened the first time. So
I
definitely
mean,
need to look more.
that was a debacle also, especially here in South Florida, with the hanging chads and the counting of the votes and Catherine Harris and Jeb Bush. So that was a total mess. But there was a lot of fakery there too. A lot of those guys, what do they call it? Was it the Brooks Brothers protest? When
Yeah,
you
the
had
Brooks
those
Brothers
guys in
riot.
suits show up to the commissioner's office, you know, making a scene, appearing like, their votes weren't being counted when we know whose votes weren't being counted. But we see everything that transpired after that time. It was meant to be for Mr. Bush to be in office.
Hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was muted. But yeah, what you said was exactly right about the whole Catherine Harris thing. I paid a lot of attention to that 2000 election. And when you said
Hmm.
that you see the similarities, that's the first thing I think about because it's the same kind of dynamic. At that point, the Supreme Court had just made that switch also. So it had just went 5-4 in the direction of the Republicans. And so at that time, now Bush has more leverage sitting on the side. And what people don't factor in is when you are the sitting president, there are certain levers that you can pull legally, just by strings, having governors in certain spots, having certain commissioners here and there, a couple of votes here and there get tossed away, longer hours at this certain precinct versus more polling stations at this other precinct, so you get in more votes here. So there's multiple ways that they can do it and work it. And in Florida, and especially in the South as a whole, they use all of them. And in that time, they made in especially South Florida was affected worse with the long lines. I remember there were lines 5 hours, 6 hours, 7, 8, 9 hour lines, with people out there in the hot sun. And I remember, the whole hanging chat things. And when they started doing the recount, um, all of a sudden they came in there like, whoa, 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 we need to stop this. And it's like, what's going on with that? So as soon as they stopped that with Captain Harris coming in there and Jeb Bush telling that, you could tell everything was coming from higher up, who were pushing these things. And you can say it's directly the president, you can say it's his chiefs of staffs or whatever, but somebody had a hand in making things happen. And that's one thing that we have to always kind of keep track of in some of these elections. And it's kind of the same dynamic with the Amy Coney Barnett, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, with her in, now you have a 6-3 swing. So that's even more likely if it gets to a Supreme Court decision that Trump has leverage on his side because of partisanship. Now, I mean, we don't know for a fact how it's going to play out, but to not at least factor that as a possibility, I feel is irresponsible.
I, if I was Trump, I wouldn't feel comfortable about the Supreme Court. There's no guarantee that those guys are going to rule in his favor, especially Roberts, Kavanaugh, Thomas, can't remember the rest. I mean, he'll get the normal 3 or 4 of them, but Roberts, he could go either way because he has ruled against the Republicans on some pretty important measures to them anyway. So
You
I
honestly
don't
think
think
so?
even if it does go to the court, I don't think it's a home run for Trump.
No, wait a minute now. So if you don't think it's a home run for Trump, then that means that you think that he's possibly lost the Republican Party.
No, I don't think he's lost the Republican Party per se. I just think that when we get to that level, we're not just talking about regular party politics at that level. We're
Okay,
talking
okay.
about something, we're talking about a different class at that point.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you there. I just wanted to make sure to put you exactly there and you hold you to an exact point. See where we're at. Oh, I see
Hmm.
already in the chats we have Kelly saying Happy Halloween, gents. Cooking some food, so will join us shortly, and that's perfectly fine. We're always happy to have Kelly in the building. Um, so that is good, and it's not like well, when I get my computer back situated, or whenever I guess coordinate this with one of the gentlemen. Um, we'll kind of do some kind of share screen, and we'll start bringing up some videos, and we'll start bringing up some images and graphics to kind of show you what we're talking about. I know a lot of times I will lead you all to videos, or I might send it to you individually, but I want to be able to start bringing some of those to the live stream. So that is something to look forward to, that we are going to start making happen. I see Signs is in the building also. He says, hey, 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 from Oregon. We're all screwed, daylight savings or not. LOL, almost done cleaning up. Be right back. Yeah, and we'll definitely wait for you. We're all screwed. That's a funny way of putting things. Emmanuel, what do you think? I've kind of battered around my ideas and kind of tested Chris at the fire a little bit on some of his ideas. So what do you think right now, brother?
I think my personal feeling about, worrying about it is, and I hate subscribing to the party line, but I suspect my personal theory is that they're going to try to do a recount, and then someone's going to walk in. I don't know who the new person's going to walk in now that's going to walk in and say, oh, we got to stop this, or, oh, we got to, or the media will turn around and say, oh, well, we've already declared a winner after I don't know how long they're going to drag this out. Well, like 3 or 4 days. Oh, they're going to declare whichever, it doesn't really matter which one it is, but they're going to declare whichever one's the winner or whatever, and they're not really going to count anything. So, there's just a lot of BS that can happen all around here, and I'm just, now that I'm aware of it, I worry more about what's going on in the background, what's moving forward. What's moving forward while everybody's noticing the mess of the election, because while they're looking at the dumpster fire or whatever, there's somebody's moving some real weight, or moving real money, or some policies being passed or something like that. So that's really what I'm trying very hard to filter out what is and isn't valid, because especially around election day, a lot of things change that most people aren't really aware of until months, maybe even years later. Even in regards to the 2000 election, there's still stuff that people didn't know that 20 years later we're just finding out. And I'm just now that I know so much, it's definitely harder to pay attention, because of course, there wasn't Twitter back then. There wasn't there wasn't Facebook or whatever. Nobody was really constantly on the media all the time. If you knew what you had to be in the know, or on the ground, or in the field, or any one of them to actually really know what was going on, because even then the news was lying. So that's where I am right now, just trying to figure out what's going on. Dig deep this time. So
See, the irony is, it's kind of like tonight we all kind of switch places for the moment right now. You sound more like how I normally are in my skeptical mindset, and I'm watching what's going on back here because I know these people, and then I'm kind of filling your role, in a sense, and then Chris is kind of fitting where you are sometimes, when you're just kind of, okay, let's just watch how this is going. Let's hear out both of these sides. And I think that's part of what's going on with this whole election. It's going to have everything in all kind of different fluxes out of whack.
The constant smirk. Sorry, Marcus. The constant smirk on my face is only because I hear what we're saying. I understand what we're saying. I think we do, but I think the three of us know it's some real bullshit. Just a lot of it.
Should we stop pretending?
We need to stop.
I'm gonna ask a question out there. I'm gonna ask a question out there to the audience. I see Signs is in the building. I know Kelly is there. And so I see three that are here, but I know sometimes it's more. It doesn't always show you all the chats, and sometimes I have a hard time getting into my Facebook at the same time. My laptop is down. My apologies, but I actually want to hear. Do you guys want to hear us keep trying to analyze what we know as a dog and pony show, or do you want to hear us really get into what's actually going on in ways where most people are afraid to really talk about and go into? Give me a one in the chat if you want to keep it on the to let's analyze this in the most theoretical way, or two, let's give this a more realistic feel with actual context, real context of what actually goes on in these things. So give us a two on that if you want us to get real with you for a moment, or one if you want us to try to analyze this in the traditional sense. I mean, uh, I'll ask my co-host. What are you fellas feeling like?
I mean, he can go for. I already know. I think I'm a two. I'm definitely.
Um, well, I'll go. I think we have to do both. You kind of have to weave in and out because people are at different levels of understanding or levels of awake or wokeness, whatever word you want to use for it. Um, so you can't just jump into the deep end. You might be able to swim, but the people you want to follow you, they may not be able to handle that level of depth right away. So you do have to kind of point to what's being covered, featured, in the sources they tend to get their information from, and you just compare that to the reality, and then you kind of hope that it will start to click. It will take some time though. It'll take repeated efforts, but you kind of that's what you have to do.
Yeah, so I think that's I like both of those, and that's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna try to weave in and out of this. We're gonna try to, you know, we're gonna try to get them onto the solid foods little bit by little bit. You know, keep them
Hmm.
with the milk for now. You know, maybe even advance them up to the infant meal. But we're gonna get them there. We're gonna get them there. But so one of the things that we actually need to talk about is that regardless of whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump, after all the kerfuffle and all the arguing, is this going to be just a fight and a long-term distraction, or is this going to lead to actual pandemonium in the streets and some kind of armed conflicts, whether it's between Trump supporters, Proud Boys, Black Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives, whatever, all of these groups which are staying out in the streets, when their side loses and so many people have so much invested, I mean, at this point, most of these people have a mindset just like, Europeans looking at a soccer match. Some of these people are out for blood at this point. So if things don't go the right way, I could very easily. I mean, like I read a story about some kid getting stabbed over like a chicken sandwich. So it, it's getting to that point where people are at edge, and I feel that certain communities, even certain families, put politics before even family. And so they're willing to, you know what, I'm done with that family member. If they're for Trump, then they're dead to me. If they're for Biden.
Hmm.
And so with all this division, I wonder, like, where does it stop? Because I don't see anything which is helping depress the situation. I only see things which are accelerants, basically, to these small fires, like I was alluding to earlier. Like, what do you say, Emmanuel? Do you think that we're overreacting a little bit, thinking that there could be possible pandemonium in the streets, or do you feel like this is a responsible, assessment of things?
I agree with your assessment. It definitely seems like it's all ramping up to something much bigger than anything I guess anybody has really seen before. I mean, it's true. It feels like regardless of whoever wins, we all lose. So, I mean, you're literally starting to see like borders being cut off and and laws being put in. Even months ago, we were seeing borders being cut off and laws being put into place, and lockdowns being rolled, lockdowns being rolled back in the previous phases. I'm like, they're expecting something. Meanwhile, they're downplaying the virus, or saying I want to fix I don't want to shut down the economy. I don't want to shut down the nation. I want to stop the virus. And I'm like,
I didn't understand. I didn't understand that part. I know what you're referring to, Biden's message, and I saw it, and I was just like, what does that mean? But go ahead, Emmanuel, finish.
No, and I agree with you. It didn't make any sense. So you hear it, and you're like, well, of course. So you hear it, and then you look alongside the virus at the same time. You see that well, I guess even in my state, I'll pose as an example. In my state, you could die in like a business or something like that over COVID or whatever, and you ain't getting a dime. Right. I mean, you got some people just walking in without masks, and they're slowly starting not to care. So, you always have to look at the bigger picture. I mean, is it less the virus is a serious threat, and more like, is the virus just being used as a smokescreen to keep us down and to implement some major functions and some major changes that'll summarily, change the way we, move through life, going forward. And that's really the great thing, that's really the significant thing that I worry about. I don't want to think big picture. I mean, I don't want to think of a world where I guess that, I don't want to think of a world like that Michael Bay movie. I don't know if either one of you heard about that Michael Bay movie where it's 4 years later and everybody's, he made like some movie about like the virus mutated, and 4 years later, everybody's still stuck at home or some crap like that. And then you hear like, I'm not sure, but my suspicion is that the next part is probably going to be what I've only seen maybe a snippet of it, but I have heard of rumors going around that there is a second strain. And then if you get the second strain, it's probably, the old man who survived the first strain, well, the second strain is definitely going to kill you. So I'm like, that's going to be the new, keep everybody at home, shut down the businesses, make sure the rich people get more money, instigate the new world order type of deal. So that's my theory on it.
Locally here in the newspaper this week, they were saying in my city, there's two areas, two local areas where people congregate, they hang out, two strips, right? Clubs, bars, restaurants, the whole 9 yards. So in the paper, they're saying they're going to send in the fun police to go and, patrol these streets to make sure restaurants and places are keeping in line with the guidelines. Here's the thing. These places are already operating, at 50% capacity in some cases, maybe less in others. They were shut down for months before. Now here we are in the fourth quarter. They're trying to recoup some kind of financial relief for all the losses this year. And you're going to send your team around to possibly fine them $10,000 if they're not in compliance. I mean, the effect it's going to have on the business person that's not tied to a large banking institution or the super wealthy people is their position is in jeopardy going forward with actions like these. Because, I mean, some people are going to keep their doors open and entertain their customers. But some of them are not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to absorb that fine. And maybe those fines come once, twice, three times. So 10,000 can turn to 30,000.
And it's kind of funny that Emmanuel brought up the whole New World Order thing, because yeah, I was some of those people, and I'm still holding my powder. I'm gonna go into my little rant in a little bit later, but some people who will dismiss, New World Order, any of those things like that, when you literally have world leaders who come out of their mouth and say, if if anybody thinks that I'm part of a secret cabal or group who are trying to lead the world in a certain particular direction, a new world order, then I don't know how it gets any more clear than somebody literally saying that out of their mouth. And so the people who would dare be like, well, I don't think that that's what that means, you obviously have the issue, because I was always taught, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. If you have people who have acquired tons of money and they tell you something, that's what they mean, because they don't have any fear to have to lie to you. You're nobody. So I mean, that's a little. I was about to get going, but that the whole New World Order. Anybody who thinks that that's silly, there's literal people in power, the 1% who literally talk about trying to create a new world order. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'll get more into that later on in the dialogue. Chris, you had something that was pretty interesting that you sent me about guidelines for Thanksgiving, I believe, from Gavin Newsom. Yeah,
Yeah,
could you go into that
I
for
was
everybody?
curious because I saw the stories floating around online about California and their Thanksgiving guidelines. I mean, some of them things were funny. They had me laughing. You know, no more than three households. Let people use the bathroom. Just only can be outside. You know, at first I thought it was a joke, but there was some legitimacy to those claims. But so much so that I see that your governor Gavin Newsom even had to, um, I guess, appear in the press and reiterate their position on what they want people to do regarding Thanksgiving. So there must have been some truth to some of those orders. So, I mean, is that true?
From what I've heard, like there's been back and forth on different things that they've said. Like I heard about like some of the bathroom rules, like only having like two guests at the house at a time, and like you could only be there for like 2 or 3 hours or something crazy like that. And it was a bunch of. It's like this. People are gonna do whatever they want to do. Just it's not much you can really do about it. If you want to do something, you need to be trying to work on a vaccine for COVID and go and figure that out
They need to
instead of
work on a
wasting time.
vaccine for stupidity and ignorance. That's what we need a vaccine for.
Yeah. Well, the thing
I mean,
about
I
it is,
heard that rule list and I couldn't believe it.
yeah. I mean,
I mean, he showed me that I couldn't.
the problem is, and this is going into to my little rant too later on. We've got a lot of people who plenty of supposed common sense. They come across as very educated and literate, and they'll have one detail, another detail, and for some reason that shit just never connects for them. And I notice a lot of people, especially in the leftist corners, um, are like that. And another thing, which it even aggravates me even more, is because my background in a lot of things, and Emmanuel and Chris, they know that I do a lot of studying on a lot of different subjects. And I've also went to college to study a bunch of different subjects, lived in other countries, speak multiple languages. And so when I have some of these just rando people on Twitter wanting to argue and debate me about stuff that I've literally experienced in my life, it's like, you know what? I need to address some of these people. And it's like one person in particular, I keep seeing silliness, but I'm going to kind of address some of those other people in that also, because the problem that we have, especially with the internet these days, and people feel like, well, I've studied this and I've researched this. Anybody can research and study some stuff, but don't assume that you automatically know more than other people just because you've researched a couple of things. Or, oh, well, now you're paying attention and you know what Mitch McConnell's doing and you know about George Soros and you know some of us have known about George Soros for 20 years, 25 years. Some of us knew about Bernie Sanders when you guys didn't know anything about politics. Some of us was studying the history of the Greco-Roman period and Roman Empire and all kind of things that most of y'all had never even crossed your mind to look into. Our monetary banking systems, how all of that stuff was put together, when it was put together, the different world wars that it went with. And many of you have never taken the time to get into any of that research, but love to run around with your pride and arrogance and try to tell other people who have done this research that they don't know what they're talking about. So, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
They put walls on there's ideological walls on the left too. They may just be a little less narrow than the right, but there's definite walls in areas of no-go zones, if you will, on the left. They just won't address it. They won't look at it. And again, we're saying left only because this is what some people choose to call themselves. But I think most people don't even understand the term and how it's supposed to work. But there is a considerable amount of whining over ridiculous things too on this side as well. Those who would call themselves Democrat, just the way that they reacted to a couple of rappers saying that they gonna vote for Trump. Again, we're not stupid. A lot of us are not stupid, right? Because favorite rapper or rapper you may like is following a particular politician, that in no way means that everyone in his fan base is going to go along with him. So the indignation from people towards 50 Cent, Ice Cube, and Lil Wayne was stupid as hell. And then the ownership grab on the right, like, look, yeah, they're with us. They get it. The Democrats are horrible. Again, it's just we're just always a pawns. That's why I like just stepping away and just looking at it, analyzing, like, yo, no matter which window I look at to this system, all of it screams for me to stay the hell away from me, because none of it is for us.
To bring up, the black, to bring up the black entertainers or the black rappers who decided to side with Trump. Malcolm X even said it best. He was like, why is it always that black people, primarily black people or majority black people or black entertainers, always typically tend to have a say in regards to American politics. He admonished that for a good number of reasons. He was just like, we are, at the end of the day, I realize that we are not black people are not a monolith. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody will vote differently. Everybody will operate differently. There's like this cult of personality that, like, because Ice Cube did it, I'm gonna believe, you gotta denounce him or whatever. I'm just like, for all we know, it's just, it's just about money. It's just about the company line. It's just about staying in line, right? It's just about causing drama and creating chaos to distract you from what's going on. If you're worried about that, then you're not worried about the elephant in the room. So that's why I didn't even give it that. And then even Twitter, like the debates are just like, they're all just deflecting. It's like to wear you down and make you give up or whatever. And I'm just like, I may not want to debate you, but I'm not gonna quit because you just kept pulling like this deflecting stuff. So I
You know
understand
what?
what
You know what I think is funny too. What I see on the left a lot of people who are discussing fascism and saying that we're facing fascism. Fascism is coming. A vote for Trump is a vote for fascism. And I'm just like, where have you been all these years? Have you not analyzed the system under which you live in every aspect? So it's like when they talk fascism, it's goofy to me. I'm sorry. I got to keep it real tonight. It, what we signed the Patriot Act into law, what, 2002? So like 18 years ago. You know, that plan was probably written 20 years ago. So you talking about fascism? We already here. What you think this COVID shit is all about? You think that shit's gonna be ushered in? Part of my language. You think it's gonna be ushered in the second term of Trump? That's what's gonna bring fascism, or a couple of Republicans in the middle of the country? They're gonna usher in fascism. Man, it's a totally different system. The discussions I see online, like I said, it's very, very weird to me.
Well, I mean, it's definitely weird because it's a major it's a cognitive dissonance, which I feel like is going on with a lot of people. They're seeing things and then they're telling themselves that it means this or it means that. Now, we sit here and watch throughout this whole political cycle all these people talking about eat the rich and we need to tax them and we need to do this and people posting memes about guillotines and all this stuff like that. But yet they know that it's this 1% or whatever that they all hate that they feel like is, Citizens United, that they feel like is poisoning the whole well of the system. They know all of
Exactly.
these things, but to them, these handful of people who all hang out at the same places and go to vacation in all the same places and live in all the same places are completely separate and isolated on any business ventures or ideas which they're trying to do. I mean, that to me, to hold that in your brain and that's what you think, knowing all that information, it makes me start wondering like, if I start giving you like 5 plus 5 plus 5, are you going to get that right at this point? Because the rationale is just as simple. You're going to tell me that somebody who has billions and billions and billions of dollars and is going to want to hold on to that, or say you have that one billionaire who thinks something crazy like, you know what, I want to be a pedophile and I want to sex traffic little girls on islands. Well, if they have enough money, they can facilitate those types of things. And it's just mind-boggling to me that, oh, people, you see the whole Epstein stuff happen. You see how Ghislaine Maxwell's protected. You see the people who were involved, Prince Charles. You see, Alan Dershowitz. You see all of these things. You know about all these money ties, and somebody says, well, I just think it's just randomly the rich, and it's just all just kind of working out to their benefit, and it's all just working out smoothly, and they're not even doing anything. It's just happening that way. I'm like, oh, goodness, oh my goodness, what level of crack? What are you smoking to hold that? To even say that with a straight face? Either you're a crackhead or else you are controlled opposition. That's what I started to see at that point. Or you're very stupid. I mean, and here's the thing. It's nothing wrong with saying you don't know something or not being sure about something. But there's way too many of you on social media who do not know what you are talking about on numerous issues and have tens of thousands, sometimes 50, 60, 70,000 followers, and you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you have tens of thousands of people retweeting your mess that they don't know what the hell they're talking about either because they're listening to you, and you come from many of you come from privileged suburban areas that don't know jack shit about anything outside of that. Only a handful of things you've read, you know, online. You've never actually been to these places or experienced any of these things. So, I'll get more into that. I see we got a couple of comments here. Let me go into that real quick. See, Son said, would you guys believe unsub for 50% of my news sourcing pod livecast this week as they started to give in to the duopoly choice O Biden? So, and then let's see. Let's see. Kelly says, sorry to miss the beginning. Any good biblical prophecies on the 2020 CE? I can definitely go into some prophecies on this. But and then Son says, like Marcus just said, controlled opposition. Exactly. I mean, that's what people need to start understanding. If you think that it matters so much between Trump to Biden, tell me what's happened on the military front. How much difference if things actually truly change going back from Trump to the two terms of Obama to Bush before him? Going back to 9/11, how much has anything changed on our goals and what we've done in the Middle East? It hasn't mattered who you've had in there. The things have stayed the same. Even if you go into tax policy over that time period, the tax policies just stay within maybe about a 7% mark. Goes up a little bit, goes down a little bit. Nothing is really changing. You had the same stuff that's going down on the border with Bush putting them into cages and camps and separating families. Then you had Obama going ahead and didn't do the same thing. Now you have Trump doing the same thing, and Biden's going to come back in and continue to do the same thing. I don't see what these people think changes with Trump. And another thing is, anybody who sits there and holds Trump like he's the most evil thing ever, for one, he's only doing a handful of stuff which he's kind of being told to do by his handlers. Also, besides that, all he does is spout off his mouth and annoy people. He doesn't actually do much of anything because most of the stuff he says, they basically undercut him and don't do it anyway. So
Thank you.
being worried about Trump is nonsense to me. Biden is the one who's actually going to be doing stuff. And you can't tell me that we should be uncomfortable about the senator from Indiana who's already tied in with all his billionaires and Wall Street buddies, who's already showing you he's going to go back to exactly what he used to be when he was a senator, completely sold out and corrupt, and you all are walking towards that with open arms, completely happy and excited because you think,
and Marcus, sorry, but Marcus, that same message needs to be understood by people who support him and people who are against him. People who support Biden, people who are against him. They missed that point. That's such a critical point. You said if they got to run it back, we're at like the 47-minute mark. You could run that back to like the 45-minute mark or so and catch, the point that Marcus was making, regarding how the system stays on track regardless of who is there, especially certain aspects of our system. And we're speaking about foreign policy at this moment. Emmanuel, jump in there.
Right. We're Marcus summed up the duopoly pretty well. It's pro wrestling. They've already factored out who's going to win, who's going to lose. Numerous scenarios. Doesn't really matter. Foreign policy is going to stay the same. War on terror is going to stay the same. Probably start a new conflict. Just for kicks, for military recruitment or whatever. I mean, it's coming. I mean, the recession could kick in. Another depression could set in or whatever. Recruitment goes back up. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. He was in Flint. He and Obama were in Flint. He walked. They were doing something in Flint, and I was like, and you heard for months, oh, we're gonna push Biden left. I'm like, you not pushing that old white man nowhere. He's gonna walk in and act like he's gonna walk in and act like he's the second coming of Obama, and pretty much run the exact same game.
Again, I always say, MAGA and blue MAGA, they're kind of similar. The people in the Democratic camp who say, oh, we can push Biden to the left are like, have you not paid attention to the Democratic Party over the past, 2 decades or so? And then on the right, the ones who are like, Trump is going to pass the $500 billion platinum plan, again, like I said last week, maybe what Republican Congress or Democratic Congress is going to pass that bill? No one. So it's just a constant like yo-yo game. They play with people's emotions, and they don't see that they're being played up and down, up and down, up and down. It's weird. It's very weird.
I hear you jamming there in the background. I hear Te in the background. You got some Ozuna going. But I'll answer Kelly's question talking about biblical prophecy. Um, One thing it says is in the end times, we're going to have fools for leaders. And if you look around the world, I mean, most of the world leaders are complete jokes. Another thing it talks about in the Bible is it says that, oh, let me take off my hat when I talk about the Bible. It says that there's nothing new. There's nothing new in the world. So anything that we think that we're seeing is just stuff that's come from old, and it's just going to be formatted in a different way. Um, you ever heard the phrase like, history doesn't repeat, but it definitely rhymes?
Hmm.
The Bible, it literally does that also the same way through. And the funny thing about it is, honestly, I wish like more people from like Hollywood really did care about the Bible or would like to use it more, because even if you don't believe in it, some of the stories are just amazing. I mean, some of the stuff that happens is like it would be some very entertaining, stuff to put down. But back to the election stuff. It doesn't declare a specific year because it likes to leave some. Well, I won't say it doesn't. I haven't gotten to the point of interpreting to that level, but it does say for things to start to look forward to when you get towards the end of this, this world. And everybody always talks about, well, people always make end time prophecies. Well, in order to go with the actual real end time prophecies with the Bible, you can't just pick one. You have to layer them upon, this prophecy fitting this, and then there's certain order that certain things that have to happen in. So some of those prophecies get into calling out people. Um, it gets into calling out major lies that are going on in the world that we don't realize that are lies that the whole world accepts as a whole. Um, it goes into some of the people who it's just going to be a whole massive wave of information that's going to start being revealed all of a sudden, and a lot part of which what part of one of the things which made me kind of feel like we're getting closer to some of that things is the swing with the whole Black Lives Matter movement before it originally got co-opted. Um, it did talk about a certain switch and change of how certain people would be treated, and I think that fits into some of the prophecy stuff. Of course, I'll get deep on another time, but let's see what else we got in here.
Oh, I wanted to ask you guys a question, Emmanuel. I'll start with you because I guess it's going to go into Marcus's thing because I see that I'm just watching the time too. So, what do you think of Greenwald and the Intercept issue this week?
I knew you were going to bring that up. The man the man has made questionable calls, but even I don't think to have his whole. I mean, to have his whole to be a co-founder and to have his whole company pretty much betray him straight up, like that. I mean, but of course, we gotta look at the deeper level, you know, the censorship issue, the Biden, he brought up the censorship, he brought up the Biden issue, the censorship issue, and his team basically snubbed him. And I'm like, well, we need to look at the bigger picture. I mean, like Glenn's probably going to be just fine, with Substack and the rest of it. But are we looking at what the future is going to be like, going into like, say, a Biden presidency? Are we going to be looking into a future of like, say, if Biden does something wrong, or Biden does something questionable, or Biden does something that just obviously falls out of his his homie friendly old white man routine?
Hmm.
Are they gonna shut us down? Are they going to shut them down like they shut down Glenn? That could be that's the bigger picture I think a lot of people are missing. And,
That would
I'm
fit
sorry that it
prophecy if they
happened to
do.
him, but I didn't hear what he said. What did he say?
I said that would fit to prophecy if they do start shutting us down.
You
Right.
they also that it again that tracks that keeps in line with all of the online purging we're seeing of accounts across all of the big social media platforms. I mean, what did Reddit just ban? And I was surprised. I can't remember. Maybe somebody could check, Marcus. But Reddit banned something, and it had me like, Reddit, you too. So Greenwald, for being such, um, he has stature, right, in the journalist community. I've been following him for a long time.
He's big. He's a big guy.
I'm a fan of his in terms of the product he puts out. You can verify a lot of it. Maybe you don't agree with his opinions sometimes, but the facts that he does lay out, those you cannot argue with. But you know, look, they were already mad at him from Russiagate, right? And he had people in his own organization pushing the story, James Reason. So for him personally, like Emmanuel said, he'll be okay. But it just shows you cannot put too much faith in any one of these organizations, because the moment you get to something that they're not politically aligned with, look what they'll do to you. It doesn't matter your position, your fame, your stature. They will come for you. It happens on every level.
Yes, it does. I guess before we go into, I wanted to. Kelly had said, "Fools for leaders." That's a good prophecy, but we've had so many over time. Well, the difference with this prophecy is it's going to be all of the leaders across the board at the same time are all going to be fools for leaders. If you look around, we got Boris Johnson, you got Trump, you got Macron, you got
Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro, you got Xi Jinping, you got a bunch of idiots right now. You got Erdogan over there. You got idiots ruling all around the world right now. And that fits with that prophecy. Um, Chris, do you have do one of you guys have the comment that Caitlin Johnson quoted to that Glenn Greenwald? Because she commented back to his comment, and that's what kind of started me off. Um, I will I'll if they can
No, I didn't
they
even.
can read some of my comments back, and then I'll kind of lay into my little spiel, I guess.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So what was it? It was said that she was referring to that Joe Biden is corrupt on many levels, saying that Hunter engaged in shady deals. Yes, the videos show Hunter um, doing drugs and having sex, but no, it's not with minors and it's not with any family members. It doesn't prove that Joe is controlled by China, and Joe will not be soft on China, whatever that means.
Now, anytime you say something like that, and you were sitting on what 70,000 followers, that is one of the most irresponsible, stupid things I've heard.
Mm.
And since Kayla Johnson doesn't respond to some of those to when I've responded to her, I'm going to respond on video, and you know what? Maybe she'll get a hold of this. Maybe she won't. When you know how much money that's involved in these elections, and you know that this money is sliding into these people's pockets, for you to sit there and try to act like, well, I know he's corrupt, but he's not this corrupt. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb.
Seriously.
Money is that easy. And if you're going to be corrupt on one thing, you're going to be corrupt on a bunch of things. To sit there and think, well, China's not going to do this. He's already tied in with China. What are you talking about? He's already tied in with most of the banks. Don't you realize that? Look at his cabinet, which he's putting in there. He's putting in what? Nothing but Goldman Sachs. He's putting in Wall Street executives. And then you'll turn around and sit there and say, well, he's not going to be corrupt. He's literally showing you that he's putting in corrupt people already But you can't comprehend that already. And then one of the first things which I saw, which Miss Caitlin Johnson said, which really started to aggravate me, was when they started talking about, well, anybody believes that Rothschild stuff is nonsense or silly or stupid. Hey, can you read my comment? The comment which Nathan Rothschild said. This was the actual comment which he said just uh, after he had just dumped a whole lot of assets and then got most of the people that are selling hardcore on the British stock market, and then came in and bought up most of Britain's debt. After he did that, this is the comment which he had to say after he had taken a whole nation's wealth. I mean, controlled most of their debt by himself.
We say I
Go ahead,
cannot.
sir.
What do you say? I cannot. What puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule empire on which the sun never sets? The man who
Yes.
controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. Nathan Rothschild.
Now, that is somebody literally telling you who they are. But then we're still going to have people like Caitlin Johnson who say, well, those people, that Illuminati stuff, they're stupid or they're crazy.
Mhm.
The man is literally telling you it. When we can sit there and show the transactions of money and show the back and forth with the banking wars, and you can go into Abraham Lincoln, you can go into Andrew Jackson, you can go into Thomas Jefferson, you can go into Benjamin Franklin, you could go into JFK. Every single one of these presidents, Benjamin Harrison, all of them had issues with the major banks. Woodrow Wilson was blackmailed by the banks. And then you sit there and say, well, I don't know this. Well, here's the thing, you don't know what you're talking about. So don't insult people who do the research and know what they're talking about. Because this is what we do. We study this, and I don't come out and start casting or bearing false witness on anybody unless I know what the hell I'm talking about and I'm able to document it. Now, he had already taken over one nation. His brothers had put in Federal Reserve banks in four other nations. You know which countries those are?
Mhm.
Italy, France, Germany, and what's the other one, Chris, that I'm forgetting?
Who'd you say? Italy, France, Germany. Had to be one of
Great.
those. Had to be one of those other ones over there.
Oh yeah, and Vienna, Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yes.
So these men back in the 1700s were literally loaning to the royal families and banks. But you think that what 300 years from now that they're not going to have accumulated enough wealth to actually control politics and control
Mhm.
major events?
To control the
To,
news that you hear, the information that you hear, when you hear it, how you hear it. I mean, just even tie
I
this all
mean,
together. Look how much stuff is just spilling out about the Breonna Taylor case. It's like on a slow, it's like on an IV drip just to keep you like tuned into it. Now you have the cop suing her former boyfriend, the boyfriend saying it was her who shot. I mean, it's just so much stuff. And not for nothing, why are you talking about all this? The $17 million settlement was already paid. The moment Benjamin Crump and them showed up and they got that money, it was done. There was no need to
well,
keep screaming
and
her
that,
name,
and
asking
that's
for
something.
justice.
And that's something they don't know anything about Prince Hall Freemasons and who's a Prince Hall Freemasons. And then I have documentation where I could back up Benjamin Crump, Al Sharpton, and all these different people. But they don't know this stuff. But they arrogantly talk out of their mouth and talk down on people who have actually done this research.
Mhm.
We're not afraid to have people come after us for our statements because we're going to do our research and stand on it. And if you can prove what we're saying is incorrect, then that's fine. And we're willing to accept, we're willing to accept that and be corrected. But if you are not doing the research to do it, then stop talking about things like that. Stop trying to insult people who have actually done this research. Another thing we have, David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller, Emmanuel was talking about New World Order, he admitted to being a part of the New World Order and trying to start a New World Order. Like, oh yeah, of course, that's just he's just saying that just for shits and giggles. All of these people are just saying all this stuff, and all this money is floating around for no damn reason. There's a reason why most of these politicians, they have a banker who has worked closely with the Rockefellers. Almost every single one of these presidents do. Do you ever wonder why so many of these presidents are related, blood related? But no,
Hmm.
no, no, no. Of course, we're the conspiracy theorists. We're the crazy ones. But anybody who will sit there and explain how DNA works, how rare it is that all of these presidents are all related, even to the fifth, sixth, seventh degree cousins, is it's almost like impossible unless it's planned or orchestrated. But you know what? People like that, they just like to talk out of their ass. They don't like to go and do DNA research or science or verify in multiple things and take their information and test it against things and see if it stands up. They just like to talk. And so I don't mind the fact that I have a humble platform. I don't mind the fact that,
Hmm.
sometimes it might just be, a couple of us in here, and then some people might catch it on the rebroadcast. My problem is when you have people who have such a platform like this who speak arrogantly about things that they do not know and teach other people to carry on nonsense thoughts, lies, and then have the nerve to try to talk down to people who know more about these things than them. These people on the left, many of you, don't know what the hell you're talking about on most of this stuff. You understand politics at a surface, basic level. In fact, most of you don't even realize the presidents don't even handle most of this domestic policy stuff anyway. So when you're worried about, well, we need a president's going to be worried about gay rights, or a president's going to be worried about abortion and all that stuff, the president's not even dealing with most of that stuff. So most of you don't even get what's going on. Even if Biden does go in there, Trump, you don't think that he's going to have a radio network or a TV network and you're still going to hear his mouth and his tweets all the time? He is not going anywhere. They have convinced you, oh, whoa, whoa, I got to get out and vote and do all these things. But look at your material life. How is anything changing actually for you? All I see is, as a whole, everything is getting worse for everybody as a whole, no matter who you're putting in there. So let's not be stupid and try to put sugar on top of the poop sandwich that we're all having to eat. All right. So yeah, I guess that's my little spiel. I've got that out of my system now, but that's been bothering me for a while because I get tired of seeing people like for instance, I'm not trying to shade this person, but like Ryan, you all know who I'm talking about, Ryan, the leftist or whatever. He's a big huge platform. The stuff he's talking about now, I was talking about that stuff 10 years before, and then you watch these people kind of slowly start tiptoeing to where I was years ago, and then people are like, oh yeah, they're so smart, Peter Dow and all that. I'm like, they just have big platforms. I'm able to sift through a lot of this information without even having the close ties they do. And if they can't figure this stuff out when they're sitting that close to it, and it takes them this many years down the road to finally figure out what the hell's going on, maybe you all should start paying attention to people who actually research, who actually do this instead of just get on there and spout off comments off of opinion only. Oh, sorry. I
Hmm.
guess we got a couple of comments, so I guess we'll read the comments, get caught up there. Yeah, talking about Ryan Knight, Warren Stan. I mean, I don't really have any beef toward them, whatever, but I have more beef with all these people who rush to hear what these people are saying. And there's thousands of people who maybe only have, 100 followers, 50 followers, then know 10 times more. And you all keep retweeting all this redundant nonsense that doesn't matter, that's basically just political fodder that's just going back and forth. I mean, let's be honest about the whole left movement right now. They're broken, they're battered, they're completely splintered into a million places. So whether it's, oh, well, Nina Turner or AOC or whatever, y'all all over the place. So y'all not getting anywhere doing anything. Oh, we voted Green Party. You're not hitting the 5%, so that's not going to matter. It doesn't matter which way it goes with Trump or Biden. So what you all think that you're doing, I don't see it. I don't see what you're going to change unless you're focusing on local politics in your local area and trying to fight those smaller battles. But anything on the national level, you all are insane thinking, oh, well, if we just get this representative and add this person to the squad and this, okay. Okay, through most of you guys' own assessment, you say with climate change and all that, we don't have that many years anyway. So how long is this movement to build all these people gonna work to get us there? I mean, there's just not a lot of common sense that's going together with a lot of these thought process and theories that everybody's just throwing out. And either we're going to talk about real solutions and things that can happen, or else we're just out there bullshitting. Let's just be honest.
Signs had a comment. He said,
Mhm.
"Why won't anyone answer his question? Is Biden the half full bowl of or the half empty bowl of shit?"
Oh my goodness. See, that's where you actually hit us with a question where it's even hard for us to be able to respond to because it's such a dead on, direct, and perfect question. It's a perfect question because he could definitely be either, and neither one is good. But you just don't. Ah, man, I don't know. It's kind of I look at Biden, like, well, Chris Rock said it best. America's like that. Like, America, if it was a nation, it's like the nation which, like, molested you as a kid but paid your way through college.
Hmm.
And so I look at Biden as the same thing. Like, Trump is like that neighbor that's like, if you come outside, I'm going to sick my dog on you. But Biden is the one who kept rubbing on your shoulders too much at all the cookouts and, tried to slip you some Advil, during summer camp, one thing, and try to get you to do things. And that's the difference in what you're dealing with. Neither one of these people are friendly, are going to be, helpful to you. It's kind of like, oh, crap, am I going to get messed up by the rabbi or the priest? Both of them are out there raping, so we don't know what's going
For
on.
real, exactly. Like, yo, where, do I want this done on a Friday night or a Sunday night? Like,
Hmm.
why?
And I meant what I said about the rabbis too, because I might even do a video on it. I found this and it was mind-boggling how this one police precinct was hiding all of the like rash of like child rape and molestation and stuff that was going on in the Ashkenazi Jewish community.
Where
And I
was
think
this,
this
in
was like
Brooklyn?
Philadelphia. It might have been Brooklyn or Philly. I know it was somewhere in the Northeast. But he's like like the cop who's dealing because they have a particular cop who only deals with it, and so they try to keep everything hush hush. He said that he's been arresting more people now, but they haven't been really arresting people for the most part, and then kind of just letting it slide under the rug, just like the
Mm-hmm.
Catholic Church does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really look into a lot of these people, they're all distant cousins anyway, so it makes sense that they would cover each other's backs. But
Absolutely.
you
Go ahead,
know,
Emmanuel.
No, I was going to say that I ironically enough did vote, and I did vote green. I did vote Green Party, but it was less that I believed it, and more
Mm-hmm.
like, if
protest
Biden
vote.
does lose, right? If Biden does lose, I'm getting blamed anyway, and if Biden does win, I'm getting ignored anyway. So,
That part.
I get to,
And you
I
can
get
see
to,
they setting it up to, like in some media spaces, they setting up to blame black dudes, like straight black men. I'm seeing that.
Oh wait, black women, they started doing that just this past month. Black women, black men, trying to blame them if Biden loses. I saw that where they
But
set them
even the
three black ladies in
even
the.
there's a lot of black women who are high up in the media and in the Democratic spaces. They're also on this nonsense too.
Hmm.
Cancel black men. Jamel Hill, she be on that same tip too. Like,
Hmm.
I don't like it, man. It's you cause a division when there's no need to be division, and it's like, we're the ones who have an issue because we're looking at both of them and saying, like
Hmm.
Sign said, it's a half full cup of shit or a half empty cup of shit. You know what I mean? So I'm supposed to be happy about running to that. And look, if you're gonna vote for Biden, Trump, whoever, just be clear about what it is you're doing. Don't gas yourself into thinking that you're making this honorable decision by voting for Biden that you're keeping America safe from the monster Trump. That is just nonsense and fed to you by that sound like some Don Lemon, CNN, Chris Cuomo, Rachel
Mm-hmm.
Maddow, Chris Matthews, the sensation up my leg nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Dom Lemon tried to act woke or whatever when he was calling out Trump, and I was just like, "Oh, come on,
Correct.
dude." I'm like,
I see. I see.
"That's
Kelly's
exactly what it felt like."
Kelly's looking to that Pura Vida life. She's talking about Costa Rica. I'm not mad at her. I mean, it's a beautiful place to go to. Science says won't dim control of the White House pretty much entitle it to throw way more donor money at getting any progressives from game seats. Yeah, they're going to use that money to just keep them out. Now that Biden is in, he's going to put all his people in. All the donor money is going to flood into the DNC. And when all that money floods into the DNC, there's not going to be as many AOCs trying to pop up anymore because now they're going to have 4 times the amount of money and they're going to be able to suppress them out of TV markets.
Did you see
And
the
with this
video?
COVID thing,
Did you
they can't
did
hit
you
the
see the
streets.
Hey, did you guys see that video that was with Warren and the rest of the squad? Warren seemed to be like the quarterback of it. And, people are saying, oh, I love this. This is great. This is the energy we need, blah, blah, blah. Again, that was, people don't see the messages or the signs in the messaging, right? That was Warren telling you, yo,
It just if it felt.
when you come here, I've been here 7 years already, right, ladies? This is how it's going to go. You're going to do nothing. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
advocate. You're gonna talk a lot on cable news. You'll say a lot of cool stuff on Twitter and all the social media platforms. But what you're not gonna do is put forth any legislation that will make anyone start to question anything. You understand? Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
ladies. That's the nonsense they're on.
I mean, she tried ALC in particular. People were like, she they were trying to tout her out as some kind of a hero, and I was literally sitting here saying, she's very well the next she's very well could be the very next Obama, the very next cult of personality
Yep.
Obama. I mean, there are still people to this day where if Obama said drink this glass of battery acid, you got some people that would knock back a cup and knock back that cup and take that drink because Obama said so. And I'm like, AOC's way on her way to being exactly that type of person. So I'm just like, when you've been around it as long, when you've been around it as long, you've seen so much, and you're literally watching everything play out. I even remember, I think it was April, May, or whatever, and I was like, I was literally saying, like Bernie's gonna drop out. We all need to do direct action and fight now. And everybody's like, no, 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 no. Bernie's definitely gonna stay and he's definitely gonna win. And then he just drops out. I'm just like, it's all fake, okay? There
I
really
mean,
is
just even
there really is no
even even on just a political level with Bernie. Biden and the Democrats haven't even thrown him a bone so that he can even go to the mass amounts of people who follow Sanders. So he can even show up to them and say, hey guys, look, I know this is not what you want, but we're going to get this. There's not even a token measure from them to him towards his supporters. So again, if this does not show you that they playing a different game, they don't care about you, your vote, nothing. This song gonna keep going on regardless. The best we could do is figure out how to disconnect and build our own communities and make sure we have clean water, clean food.
just someone thinking for themselves, someone sitting in front of other people, someone sitting in front of the masses and just honestly telling the truth because people's ignorance is it's starting to get painful. It's starting to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to
Yes,
hurt now.
yes, it is.
I know it definitely is. I'm losing my patience with it. Kelly said AOC is the next Obama. Kill me now. Politics corrupts. Absolutely, exactly. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. The moment that we start seeing her capitulate and oh, Mama Bear and oh, interview after interview on the View and all these things like that, at that point they're compromised because if they're not willing to say it in that arena, which should be a safe environment, they're not willing to do it in Congress when nobody's around.
Mm-mm. Oh, did you see the video with the Biden bus in Texas and all the Trump trucks? That was funny as hell.
Right. Supposedly the Trump hearse is just following the Biden bus around, and the Biden bus is like literally running. You mean where it's like literally running like the red lights and stuff like that to like avoid it? And I'm just like, that's pretty much the sum. That's summing up the election right there. It's just a show. It's just a show that they're playing out for you, and you're watching and you're taking video and you're doing pictures and stuff like that. I'm like,
I guarantee you we're going to see small flashpoints of maybe some kind of like violence or clashes between. There'll be small skirmishes here and there, but the media is going to take that and they're going to put it on that Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds steroids. And they're going to try to make that seem that we're burning from LA to Virginia and from Chicago to, El Paso, Texas. That's what they're going to do. It's going to make it seem like the entire place is on fire and there's issues when that's not going to be the case. I promise you.
The sign says 80 million that are mad at the current situation and could get Green win by 20 million if they just voted that way, minus the DNC's work on getting them off the 3 states and ballots. Exactly. I don't disagree with going third party, but I mean, the moment Bernie got out, there was a small window of time. I was trying to push forward, but hey, obviously I'm not big enough to get out there, and some people don't want to hear my message. Because I tried to reach out to larger platforms to try to see if we can do some kind of thing to get together and kind of push people in a certain direction. And they all had 50 gazillion different ways that they wanted to go. So that's how that went. I mean, you had the people who were like, oh, well, we're going to go Green Party. And you had the people who were like, we're going to go People's Party. Then you had the people like, well, we're going to start the new socialist movement. And then we're going to be DSA. And when you start splitting apart like that, it's already too late. Because if Republicans, even though they hated Trump at the time, I'm talking about, of course, establishment. They hated Trump, but they realized, oh crap, it's general election, we're stuck with it. They all rallied around it. The Democrats, the moderates and all that, they didn't really want Biden. They wanted Buttigieg or one of those other people, Kamala, but they all rallied right behind Biden. The left, as soon as Bernie went out, they all were like, let's do this and let's do that and let's go here and let's do that. So yeah, if you're going to be like trying to herd cats, then of course we're never going to get anywhere.
I just posted the
and so many of
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Emmanuel.
No, so many of Bernie's people capitulated to Biden anyway. I was just like, they knew who buttered their bread, they knew who signed the checks. A lot of them openly capitulated to Biden. That's all I was going to say. Sanders people, there were a lot of them who just eventually, got on the knee and kissed the ring because they knew. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, they're going to use that scene with the Biden bus. They're going to use a couple images, and they're going to say that the Trump people are extremely violent, they're gun-toting, and they're threatening people. And, the one we saw with the black people, how they tried to drive into that neighborhood. Again, those Trump supporters that drove into that black neighborhood, I can't remember where it was, but again, they were there with the police. This shit feels so staged. Like, police, the people in that neighborhood, not about, like, you playing with the wrong people doing that, right? What are you doing over there? And they rode with the police. And then if it was that serious, the police would have told the people in the neighborhood to clear the road, but they allowed the Trump people to just make a U-turn and go back about their business in the opposite direction. So again, to me, that just feels like theater to just get you
Hmm.
worked up. So that's why you got to
That's the
watch
goal.
this stuff with your emotions in check. You got to like
Hmm.
really put them on a leash because sometimes they may jump and it's like, oh, it's you're jumping for no reason.
Well,
Trump just seems to bring out the worst in Trump just seems to bring out the worst in them. And I'm even like, say if Biden say if Biden does win, what's the media got now? I mean, Trump was their cash cow. Trump was their pig. They were sucking on the teat of Trump. I mean, now he's on his way out. Oh, they got like another month or two left, so they gotta play it
but they
up. Gotta
still,
play up the
but they
violence.
still will be able to. They're still going to be able to use Trump because he's going to start some kind of media thing. So Trump will still be out there for them to use all the time because they'll say his comments are influencing things in the media. So they're still going to talk about Trump, and he's always going to be, some way where they can always make a little bit of money. Signs. I agree with what you said about in Oregon and Colorado, so the 5% is BS. Green has, yeah, they have Bernie's platform reparations, and the problem is, I believe that certain people, because of their own pride and arrogance, they wanted to have their organization be the third party everybody rallied around, and not enough people decided, you know what, let's just get that 5%. We all agree for the most part on at least 90% of this stuff, but because people let their own personal goals on how they want to structure thing, and they want to be a person who's basically like, what is it, the I guess the decider, or decide who the nominees are going to be, and a kingmaker. That's what I was looking for. They want to be the kingmaker. So when you have all these people who are losing track of the whole mindset of it's policy driven first, and we need to be going with the policy versus trying to focus on the organization and then bring the policies. If we're already with the policies, let's just get all together, figure out, okay, flip a coin, get with a group, and then let's get it done. I mean, to me, the fact that the Greens had reparations as part of their platform, that tells me that the left is not quite as conscious on race as they appear to be. That's, I guess, a nice way of saying it.
No, it's true. They follow their favorite celebrity, and then they feel like they've done enough. But it makes that's a topic that makes them feel very, very, very uncomfortable when we start talking about truth, and the system and how it actually works towards
Hmm.
individuals like us and groups like
Hmm.
us. It's very hostile. So again, it's very easy for me to just look at this election, especially this year of all years. I'm just, I've pulled back year after year after year. I mean, 2000 was really like a huge message to me. But 20 years later, here we are going into this. It's going to be nuts. I do have a
Hmm.
prediction. My own personal prediction is that we're going to be locked down after the election, and they're going to make these lockdown rules.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
They're going to make the lockdown rules so ridiculous that you just going outside your door is going to be a violation, which will in turn inevitably create some static in a lot of these neighborhoods too. So you're going to have it's going to be a combination of things that's going to happen after the election. But I do feel that, now that's just my opinion, that there's going to be a lockdown after the election. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Well, how I see it also is, if you go back through history, major events as they start up for wars, or regime changes, or dynasties starting to fall, there were always events that led up, that you start seeing, and here it's marching towards a certain cadence. And Kelly said in there, my brunch and privileged friends and family are terrified of civil war. And they should be terrified of civil war. I know she was asking about biblical prophecy, so I'll jump back in prophecy real quick. Um, one of the prophecies does talk about that there will be warring between men and women on earth, and it's not going to be of the military. It's going to be the citizenry having problems back and forth. So it does kind of allude to a civil war, or at least fighting in the streets. So that's something that it does lay into that. And like when I said that prophecy about that we'll have all the leaders, and thank you for reminding me about Berlusconi. I forgot about that perverted old creep. But anyway, that's one prophecy there. When it starts talking about rumors of war, that's another prophecy that it starts talking about. It starts talking about basically martial law, and we've been starting to see more and more of that. And so these lockdowns and stuff, they're talking about everybody's going to need to take this cure or vaccination. Well, if it comes with some kind of additional, what is it called? If it comes with some kind of chip or anything in there, well, that's biblical also. Everybody knows about the mark of the beast, which it says you'll receive in either your right hand or in your forehead. Now, we already know that they've been working on technology to put up under the hand, to open car doors, all kind of things like that, and how the Bible basically talks about the mark of the beast. It's not something that most people are going to be like forced down. They're going to put it in your forehead. It's going to come with perks and benefits. So it describes it as a temptation. So if you're sick and they're possibly saying, hey, this is going to heal you. And a lot of people talk about the testing, how it goes all the way up through the nose really hard and it's really painful and you hear it crack through some stuff. I don't want to do anything like that. That sounds, almost like literally putting a chip in your brain. So that gets a little. Yeah, I don't like that situation there at all. But on the making you want it or desire it kind of thing. They're talking about 5G, which is going to be coming online soon. The 5G is going to allow for a massive, massive, massive leap in technology, which I don't think most people are even comprehending at this point. I know a couple of years back they had already did the first semi truck that went from Florida. It went from Jacksonville, Florida, which is all the way on the far east coast, right there at the Atlantic Ocean, all the way out to LA. And that truck went all the way automated the whole way. Um, we all see what's going on in the supermarkets, how they're starting to have more self checkouts. Some of those, if you go in at night, they have the robotic night stalkers. More and more things are about to go automated and online as soon as this 5G goes in, because the capabilities and how fast it is, it's going to erase the problem they were having with lag with a lot of these machines. And it's also going to be able to do more tracking and documenting and more things like that. So they talk about it's going to get to a point where we're literally going to, like, all of our cars are going to be automated. Like, we're not going to literally drive anymore because it's going to be on this 5G system where our phones will be tied in through it, where there are automated vehicles and TV and stuff. So where we just come in, everything's voice command, like you see in a lot of those futuristic movies. So that kind of stuff, it does. That's why I say the temptations of the mark of the beast. Some people are just going to rush out and take it because you already see how we're starting to go more and more to a cashless society. More people are like, oh, well, if you don't have exact change, then you can't buy this. That's going to start happening more and more, and then we have Bitcoin and all that, and it's starting to make it so we get away from paper money. More of that stuff is on that electronic system, and when it's on that electronic system, it's easier to move all that stuff to a frequency on a chip. So like when I was in the military, when we used to go to the chow hall, we used to have a little chip that we would have to punch in every time to be able to get our food. Well, that chip eventually led to having all our service records on it. Now the military has all your service records, dental records, all that stuff. That same chip is now moved over to our credit cards, which we all use now. When you go to the bank and you have to put in the chip and all that stuff like that. It's just advancing, advancing, advancing. More things that are being put onto that chip. And there's going to be a certain point where credit check and all that stuff is all going to be intertwined. So that's some of the stuff that once you start seeing more unification of systems, more nations trying to push closer and closer together as one, whether you start seeing every religion saying, oh no, we all basically believe the same thing. When we start having, like I've seen, they've had in a lot of those Asian countries, those communicators where you could just put it up and talk to it. Well, that chip, they would have the ability to actually just allow you to receive it and understand what somebody's saying already translated, basically giving us one language also, which that's things it talks about in biblical prophecy also. So yeah, I hope I got all that I could get out and answer all Kelly's questions at the same time.
Hey Kelly, don't be depressed. Don't be depressed. Just it's an awakening.
He bummed her out.
Yeah,
It's an awakening. Don't be depressed.
Hey, and Kelly, I just gave you a small spoonful. Wait till the real full. What I'm gonna have a I think I'm gonna probably do like a go to meeting, and of course I'll have Chris in there and Emmanuel in there, and this one's gonna go private so that you all can ask a lot of questions, which I don't feel entirely comfortable going in full depth on the live stream yet, but on some of that stuff that. It'll be no holds barred. You guys can answer me any question. Complete 150,000% honesty and candidness. Um, Let's see. Well, we got a couple of comments, I guess, before we get ready to wrap it up.
Oh yeah, if you want me to, I got him.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what we have here. Sign says he didn't appreciate Howie. He would have, been happier with Dario regarding the Green Party, but he said neither had Bernie's numbers, which is true. I mean, I agree with that. Let's see what else do we have here because we skipped over. Oh yeah, Bernie's done more campaigning for Joe than anyone else, and they shit on him and his supporters. That's a huge fact. I mean, again, after witnessing that, how could you think that you have any space inside of this party?
I hear you there. RoboCop. I just want to put
Let's
that
see
one up. That's funny.
Signs.
Actually,
He just asking us about RoboCop if we remember.
I like it. Good comment. We're not gonna delete that. We have fun here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, did you see Obama shooting the jump shot leaving the gym? Yeah, so I guess this was right before we came on. It's making the rounds on Twitter. Obama's in the gym masked up, and he gets the ball. He shoots a corner three, and he hits it, and he walks off like, that's what I do. And the response is like, oh, my president. Oh, your president could never. Oh, and again, okay, homie hit a jump shot. Congratulations. It was the uncontested three. Cool for a 50-year-old guy. Totally irrelevant, not important, but it makes these people feel good, and it makes them feel as if
feel better about themselves.
Like daddy's coming to take care of you. Look, daddy's gonna be there with Uncle Joe. It's all gonna be okay. All right.
Like they did it with Flint, and they did it with Flint. I was like, come on, man, give me a break.
No,
they were.
Kelly wants to know our predictions.
Oh, can I say this little comment real quick? Then you guys can do your predictions, and I'll do mine last. He hit the little corner three. That's cool, whatever. I wonder how many he actually took before he made it. But that's a whole another subject because, they can edit stuff however they want to. Could have shot 15 of them before he finally made that shot. But anyway, I would more prefer to see, because I saw Michelle Obama do jumping jacks. I would rather see her play one-on-one with him and see who wins in the post-up game. Because I'm more confident that,
she give him the business, right?
I mean, that extra testosterone. I mean, never mind. Forget that comment there.
My prediction is Trump is going to win, and it's going to take a while, but he's inevitably going to win. The energy I'm seeing on that side is legitimate. People do believe it. and they are very motivated. They're not going to allow mail-in ballots to be an issue. The Democrats, the media is telling me they're excited, but out in these streets, when you talk to people, no one is excited. No one, except for the partisans that you run across, like the ones who wear their shirts, Team Democrat, Team Republican. But anybody who's not on that partisan tip, they're. So many people told me they're not voting this year, and so I've heard that a lot of times from some surprising sources. So I would say it's Trump because the people who want Trump to win, they're eager to go and get him to vote. The people who are most mad at Trump or most dislike him, they live in the states where their votes don't matter and they're talking the most shit. So it's like you're in New York and you're in California bitching about Trump. I mean, and you want everybody else around the country to vote how you want them to vote. It don't work like that.
Oh, go ahead, Emmanuel.
Let's see. Huge. Expect a huge. Election. Expect election day to be declared a super spreader event.
Mm.
Huge recount fight. Right.
Damn.
Drag that out. I see Biden winning.
Okay.
And just a new era, of suppression and just neoliberalism coming from Biden. Definitely. So sleep media, stuff like that. So that's my theory, right? That's my theory right there, Nothing he wins, nothing changes. Because he's already, you already see him saying, like, he's calling people begging for money a handout and saying there's dignity in working. Well, the Nazis used to say that too. Used to have it written above their concentration camp. There's joy in working. What did they say? Joy, German for joy in working or whatever. So that's my theory right there.
Hey, you guys see all the peace deals that Israel's made lately with all these Arab countries, and they've been hyping it up. The fact that it's been hyped up in the mainstream media should tell you that those countries probably had their balls in the vice, and they probably had to give Israel favorable terms to make that announcement. So we'll just watch the recent countries that made the deal with them. That'll be interesting to watch to see just what they get out of it. I guess that was a little anti-Semitic too, so I have to be careful.
No? Well, we'll
I
get
mean, I'm
into
being
that when
sarcastic.
yeah. But I guess my assessment on what I think is going to happen is Trump is even though Trump plays ball, Trump is still a little bit too unsafe for them, and they don't like the fact that he might buck them just a little bit. I
Correct.
mean, you saw how Elizabeth Warren was ready to sell her soul, and she did sell her soul and lied and did all kind of stuff, burned up her credibility, and they still were like, we still don't trust her. They don't even want her in the Biden administration. They want only the most loyal, 150% on the page soldiers at this point, because I think now is when they're going to start pushing, their agenda hardcore. Now that they got the players in place. And with Biden, everybody knows Biden's history. Biden's a war hawk. He's far more of a war hawk than Trump's going to be. And so let one situation go the wrong way, and you know what's going. It's popping off, and he's ready to start sending jets and sending missiles. So I say look for that situation to happen. And the fact that he is so much tied in with APAC and the Israel, what is it, the IDL, whatever. He's tied in with those groups, and they have control. Even Bibi Netanyahu, which we thought that he was going to go to prison and not be in charge or be the prime minister. Still is. And so he said himself that he basically controls American policy. So, like I said before, I take what people say. I don't just go on, well, I don't want to say this because this could seem anti-Semitic. I don't care about none of that crap. If you say I'm a murderer, then I'm going to treat you like you're a murderer. If Netanyahu says that I control the American, if I control American policy when dealing with Israel, then you got to take that for what it is. That is not anti-Semitic. That's what that asshole said. And so anybody who's getting in their feelings about it, you got the problem that you need to be dealing with. Um, but yeah, I feel like Biden is a team player. He's gonna do what he's told to do. He's been a team player for all this time, and honestly, it's not even so much about Biden. Biden is just the Biden is the glove for who's going to be the real, pusher of all this stuff. Because
And
Biden's
if
not going to be in office that long anyway. Biden's
in
going to win. Kamala's going to take over maybe
Right.
a year after, and then
Mhm.
that's the Hillary Clinton show at that point. So you already know what she did in Libya. You know what she did. You know her history. So if you can't figure out how that stuff is going, then hey, they
you know that
think.
they'll, one of the things too, if let's just say it does go the route that Biden wins, and then because if he does win, I don't think he'll be there for 4 years. Like we
Hmm.
said before, they'll turn it over to Kamala.
Hmm.
The thing is, if a foreign policy issue or event takes place involving U.S. troops or the loss of U.S. life or the life of some property or an ally that we're really close to, because she's a woman, because she's black, she's gonna have to go really, really hard just to prove to America
Hey,
that
hey,
she
let's clear
can
that up
be
too.
that tough,
So, sorry, Chris.
commander in chief. So
Chris, I gotta
if
cut you.
that happens, God forbid,
Chris,
um,
Chris, we gotta go back because you know what? We're gonna call this out too. Kamala being a black woman, we gotta call this out and be honest about this. Kamala, even if her father's percentage of her is black, Kamala has not had any kind of growing up of the black experience. She grew up in Canada and all this stuff like that. So we're not going to sit there and act like this is a black woman in the traditional sense. This is an upper class Indian woman. And that's how I feel like she needs to be addressed. We blur the lines when we try to claim her as all black woman because she didn't experience nothing that I really
well,
did.
that's what I would say. I would say she's black. Is she black? Yes, she's black. But does she, like you said, does she share any experience? And I'm not talking about, oh, you
I
had to be
even
poor, living in
I
the
even
projects,
question that.
roaches crawling in the living room. I'm not saying that. Just even to live amongst people, to break bread amongst people, to look at the same things, go to the same events. Again, you show up in New York at the radio station to talk to black folks, mind you, and you sit there and lie, talk about how you was listening to Pac and Snoop or Dr. Dre, whatever, before the albums even dropped. That's condescending as hell. And you were sent up there to try to reach people like myself. And nah, I'm not an idiot. And you tried to play me
Mhm.
like an idiot. So you know what? You can kick rocks. I have no use for you.
Well, that's my thing. If your father, who you don't have a relationship with hardly, he has what like 25% black, and so when you got like what 10%, and now we're calling you a black woman because you got 10% black and you didn't have none experience or whatever. I have a problem with that. Like, let's go with your father's culture. Your father practiced more of the Indian culture. So did you. And so let's not try to blur these lines and play this. Oh, like it's the same thing what Hillary did with the hot sauce. She's doing the same thing. It's just like with Obama.
At
If
the
you think
same
about it,
place, too. It was at the
they're not,
Breakfast Club. That's why the
no,
Democrats
Same place.
they are not going to give you an African American man or an African American woman. They're going to give you, it's a black man, it's a black woman. It's kind of the same. I'm not giving you nobody who's had our experiences because they know that policies would be very differently. They're not going to have somebody who's going to be compliant. If they have somebody who hasn't experienced the same things, it's a whole lot easier for them to be kind of cold about things or let certain policies fall by the wayside, which happened with Obama, which will happen with Kamala,
and you would
because all
steer
she.
and you would steer
Mhm.
your people, at least legislatively, into a different direction, to get them to open their minds to something else, right? To the various ideas you would have, not being tied to a Democrat or Republican. But what happens is they jump into those parties and they keep their imagination boxed in. You know, they give them very tight parameters, and their minds are only allowed to, you know, they're not allowed to imagine more than what it currently exists. You know, you can't think of, you know, any thought of what could be, what should be. It's like, oh, you're just pie in the sky, you're an idealist. You know, you shouldn't think of those things. But it's like, why should we continue to operate within the parameters they set for us
Well,
when
yeah.
they're not successful for a lot of us?
And to respond to what Kelly said, thank you for saying that about Kamala as a white woman. If I said that, it would be racist. And that's what I'm tired of people, what they called it when I went through like anger management counseling in the military. Yes, I did and do have anger problems. I feel like nobody ever gets rid of it completely. But what you learn is a thing called when you wear the belt too high. And in boxing, what they mean is there's a certain level where you keep your belt at, and anything below that is a low blow. And what you have is you have some people which pull their belt like all the way up to their neck, so there's nowhere you can hit them. So everything is a below the belt hit. And telling the truth about this woman's actual nationality, I dare anybody come challenge me, please do it, because these are facts, and I'm not going to let people use their feelings to manipulate what facts are really saying. And we're going to get deeper into some other people who are being dishonest about some things, but the true season is here, and damn people's feelings. It's about time, about telling the truth and about getting people on the right path. And if we're not educated on these things in actuality and how they really are, then we're always going to be confusing the message, and we're always going to be giving people falsehoods in a sense, because it's a half truth, and we need to have whole truths to be able to understand this system and what's really going on.
I got it,
Let's see.
Emmanuel. I guess Marcus, I was gonna say, I guess we at that time now. I guess we could just like wrap it up, let
Yeah.
Manuel get his, and then you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I ain't got nothing. I'm ready when you guys are. I mean,
Yeah.
I said I wanted to hear him rant, and I was happy. I was
I
happy to
know,
have a
right?
front row seat. So
I know, right?
And anybody
happy to have it.
who wants to dispute me, I'm happy to debate. So anybody wants to call me out, I'm happy to debate them. Anybody who disagrees or that are contradicting that, have them watch my video and then have them come at me with whatever questions that they have, whatever dispute, and then we can deal with it. Let's see, Marcus, I can never see you angry. You're cool. Well, I try to be that way when on the platform and trying to address some of these things, because I realize the topics sometimes are not always easy, and you come across a little bit too fiery on things, people can focus on your delivery versus the content of what you're trying to convey. So I'm trying to make sure that people pay attention to our content, what we're trying, the messages we're trying to get across. Um, let's see. Something I wanted to let everybody know. I have an interview, a very special interview I am really excited about having tomorrow. It'll be with Kit Cabello, sorry, of Hard Lens Media. If you are not familiar with them, Hard Lens is out of Chicago, Illinois. I know was it Daniel Lupker, Kira, having a hard time forgetting her name, and I believe Javier is the other host. I don't know they rotate hosts in and out, but they get you abreast of some things that are going on Midwest. They talk about some of the things which the mainstream media is not talking as much about. Some of the foreclosure, some of the eviction stuff, some of the people dealing with repos, certain businesses which are being shut down, unemployment layoffs, the whole COVID thing, and they go in depth. And Kit, while I'm really excited to have him on there, is because Kit is one of those types where it's no holds bars. He has a lot of energy and emotion, and he lets you know how he feels. And you know how we are here. We're all about truth and honesty and hearing people's actual perspectives. And so I hope you all tune in for that interview tomorrow with Kit. And Let's see, and make sure to tune in for the Annihilation Cage tomorrow night. And um, I'll have. Oh yeah, if you guys have anything that you all want us to start talking about after the election, well, the election I think is going to dictate a lot of what we talk about. But any particular topics that you want us to talk about or cover, um, please make sure to hit us up on our social medias. You know, our Twitter apps. All of you guys mostly know them. If you don't know them and you're not on one of the social medias and you want to still get that across to me, my email is marcusjcage at yahoo.com. So just send me an email there, and sometimes if I need to just make a specific personal video just for something that you want addressed, I will do that when I have the time. Um, thank you everyone who tuned in with us. I know we went a little bit longer than normal, but I'm glad to have you all in there. So Kelly put, so an atheist Kelly and a Christian Marcus. You gotta remember, I'm not a Christian. Mm.
Nah.
No, in fact, when it gets into religious talks, I go at Christians hardcore a lot of times. If you want to know what my faith actually is, I consider myself a Hebrew Israelite. So uh, don't go off of just the videos of what you see about the people. I say talk to me and figure out what my actual beliefs are first before just watching a couple of videos and thinking the worst. So this has been the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Young Morpheus, here with my good friend, Mr. Cy Lawson, and my good friend, Mr. Blue
Hey,
Maverick.
do you
Mr.
guys?
Emmanuel
Hey,
down there.
real quick, one thing.
Mhm.
Thank you guys. Sorry to step on the end. Hey, you guys want to jump on Tuesday or Wednesday?
Before
Well, I
election
guess we'll
night?
talk. But I was just saying, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday
Yeah,
after the
if
election. Maybe
anybody,
we'll do something.
if you all are in, yeah, if they're interested in having
If I
that,
can make it, sure. I mean,
All right, yeah. We'll do something. It don't
all
have
right.
to be late at that time. But I mean, just maybe just
I,
30,
um,
40 minutes, or something like that.
Okay, cool.
or I might go for a while, and then you can hop in and out whenever you need to.
Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right,
I'm
fellas.
down for covering it.
Fellas, thank you. We're out.
Sunday. Yes, my interview will be Sunday with Kit, and then of course Annihilation Cage tomorrow night also. But yeah, that has been the show. Thank you all for tuning in on our extended cut version of a couple of days before the election. Some of our thoughts and theories, some of the things we all should worry about. Oh, I would say make sure you go and get plenty of bottled water, canned goods, or anything like that, just in case you have to be in the house a little bit longer than planned. So, with that said, you all have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you later. Have a good one.
Have a good night, guys.